Hi, I'm Rob Lemon. I'm a Zone Maintenance Technician 3 at the Wexner Medical Center, which is in District 3 of Facilities Operation Development at The Ohio State University. Today we're going to look at installing a standard ballast that we might find on campus or in our medical center. This is a 2-light fixture. We're going to put a 2-lamp ballast in. Some of the tools that we need are here. We have this is a multimeter used for checking continuity, looking for voltage to help troubleshoot in the event we've got some other issue. Not usually needed in standard ballast application, but it's nice to have on hand. We've got our safety glasses, a box of fuses. Some applications you'll need a fuse to just interrupt the power while you work on it. Not always necessary, but we have a non-contact voltage detector, useful for checking to see if you've got voltage to your fixture or not. Set of wire strippers, wire cutters. We've got this is a screwdriver that's able to do 2 or 3 different sizes of hex nuts, which is handy for working on ballasts. Roll of electrical tape. Few different ways to terminate your wires. We've got wire nuts, we've got some distribution blocks. They're all, as long as you're using the right size wire, they're all interchangeable. And then we have a new ballast that we're going to put in our fixture today. Okay, so here we have a typical fixture that you will find here at the Ohio State University campus and also our medical center. This is a 2-lamp fixture, and we're going to look at changing the ballast. Typically, if you find a light that's not, the lamps don't have any output, you're going to go straight to the ballast, but you can change the lamps to see if that will correct the problem. And if it doesn't, then we'll proceed with the installation of the new ballast. And this light is mounted on a display for today, but usually they're overhead, and with the wires and stuff hanging down, I usually grab a pair of safety glasses before I take any of this stuff out, prevent wires and dirt and whatever else from getting in your eye. So we will go ahead with removing the lamps. And then sometimes there's a lens covering these lamps, so you'll have to get the lens out of the way, or it'll be up into a ceiling and you'll have to figure out how to get the access to the ballast. In this case, we've got 2 thumb screws that hold the reflector on. We just unscrew, usually either half or a quarter turn, and then this will slide up out of the way. Okay, so what we want to do first is we want to check for our voltage. In this case, we've got a fuse, and we can check incoming power here. It's hot, and the coming out of there is good. There's some instances where these lamps will not, or these lights will not have a fuse, so you'll either try to look for a light switch that can change power, turn the power off, or go to a breaker. If you go to a breaker, we need to follow the lockout tagout procedures that are outlined. And then in this case, we're just going to proceed with removing this fuse and removing the ballast. So you can push in, turn, fuse comes out, and then power is cut to the ballast, which will lead to us being able to change that safely. I've got a new ballast here. It's the same, it's actually the same one, so the wiring should be real simple. We're going to have, you can do it 2 ways. I usually will just leave this one connected as long as I possibly can so that I keep track of where my leads are going. So I'll just unscrew this by this screw right here. There's usually just one screw that'll hold the ballast in, and then a couple little ears, or sometimes there's another screw on the other end. Again, it's kind of a case by case. You just take these both loose, and you'll be able to get the old one out of there, but still keep it wired up so you'll be able to keep track of your leads. And I'll slide the new one in. Put the fuse holder, it was attached with this screw. Sometimes that's there. Kind of just loosen the fixture. Another sometimes you have a real nice way to secure it. Well, and then this one, you'll secure this screw, and then you can begin with unwiring your joints and your connections and reconnecting them to the same set of wires you're going to go to your lamp holders with. Okay, so we're going to begin with replacing this. The first thing to do is to check your wiring diagrams. As you'll notice on these, it's the same ballast looking, but they have a little bit different wire codes. On the old ballast, we've got this red wire here, which is indicated on the schematic, that goes to this end. And on the new ballast, we have two yellow wires, as indicated right there, that's going to operate it. So you kind of got to determine, you know, what you're working with, and then we'll be able to do that. This is another reason why you want to do these one at a time, because, you know, not all the time are you changing the exact same color of wires. So you get all this stuff straightened out, and then I'll take these one at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of the new ballasts, yellow leads, and we're going to connect it. And this joint here we'll be able to eliminate just to reduce some of the wire in the wireway and help it with making sure you have good connection. And it's an extra part that could get pinched and cause all kinds of shortage and whatever. So we're going to be able to get rid of that. We'll take the wire, we're going to unhook the two orange wires and one yellow lead. Just twist this wire nut, take it out, and then I like to try to twist the existing leads back together. It just makes it a little bit easier to terminate. And then take the new yellow lead off the new ballast, connect there, and then usually you can use the wire nuts over. You just want to make sure you look at them, that they aren't broken, they're like the end's not cracked or anything like that, and that they're the right size for your wires. And then you can just reuse them usually. And so there you have just the one joint, and then we can repeat that process on the second. So I will take this is the other yellow lead, and there's my new one, there's the old one. Same process, identify, make sure I got the right set of leads so I'm not, you know, unhooking the wrong one. The wire nut off. Just disconnect these. I'll twist these back together. You always want to make sure your new leads have the right amount of wire. Usually like 1/4 of an inch is about what you want to have exposed when you are going to reconnect. If you have to cut them, we have wire strippers, which we'll get to later here in the demonstration. So we're just going to put this wire nut back on. And then we should be good to go. Okay, one thing that can come up is watch where your wires are being connected at. In this case, it's on top of where your reflector is going to go, which will pinch a wire, cause it to possibly cut and short out. So what we'll do is we can unconnect these and then just pass the wire underneath there, and then we'll be safe. Okay, so we're going to start with where these blue wires, you'll see on the old wiring diagram, we have two. One goes to each lamp. On the new ballast, we are going to have a blue one and a red one, but there's going to be two wires each, two blues, two reds. So we'll just trace this out, find out where these are all going. And I'm going to start with these two blue ones here, and they're all twisted together. I can trace them down to these two wires right here. I got a blue and a blue, so I'm going to use the two blues off the new ballast and go to each one of these. I've fished the new leads for the new ballast underneath here, so we make sure we don't pinch them when we put the reflector back together. And then I isolated where each one of these blue leads is going to go, and I'll take the wire nut off. And I can kind of get that out of the way. And then since these are too long to fit in there without creating a bunch of wire and a bunch of places where the wire can get pinched, I'm gonna cut it. I always leave a little extra just in case we have to come back and do some more troubleshooting. I don't want to have my wires too short. So I'll be able to cut it about right there. And just use a set of wire strippers. There's multiple kinds. This is the ones I like the best, is you got a cutter and a stripper, and you cut it. And then you'll use the proper size on the strip gauge here. We'll tell you what size of wire you're going. We're using a 14 gauge wire. So I'll put it in on the 14, about 1/4 of an inch. And maybe it'll work. And so then we'll have about 1/4 inch of exposed wire. I'll hook it back to my existing fixture lead. So now I still have a little bit of wire to play with, but not near as much as all this stuff was. So it'll help clean up this stuff and keep it easier to manage. And then I will repeat the process. And this is the key why you only do one at a time, because you'll end up with all these wires off if you don't, and you'll have a hard time figuring out where's the wires are all supposed to land. So now we got that off. I got this whole mess of blue that can come out of here, out of our way. And then I'm gonna take this new lead and cut it off about like so. Again with the cutters and the proper strip. And use a nice clean end and connect this up. And now that'll be just for this one lamp holder, and we're done with that. We can kind of bundle them up, tuck them out of the way, and we'll start on the red. Those fish through there. You kind of want to be careful, make sure you don't skin the wire up as you're doing this too. I always want to make sure I get all the wires I don't want out of the way. Here's one of my new ones. Cut it off right about that. Strip it. And use my wire nut back together. And we got one more. I'll be able to get all this out of here. And then I find my new one, cut it off. I reconnect that. So now I've got all that mess of wires out of the way. It looks a lot neater, a lot less susceptible to getting pinched in the fixture when you put it back together, which will create a short. And we'll be just looking for, now we'll have to replace make the new connection on the power and the neutral. So here we are, we've hooked up our lamp holders and we've got everything kind of tucked away a little neater than it was, and we're going to put the hot and the neutral and be able to get rid of our old ballast here. So the important thing you want to make sure is when you're hooking the hot up is that you use the ballast lead hot, not the fuse lead hot, because this has still got, use your voltage detector to tell the difference, but this has still got power and this does not. So we'll be able to unhook this. And not break something. And then on the black line here, it's a little bit too long, so I'll trim it up. But again, I leave a little extra space so that in case we have to troubleshoot this later, I haven't cut my lead too short. Cut it, strip 1/4 inch, and then back together with the Repeat the process with the neutral. Take it apart here. And here you see you'll have a ground too. Some fixtures do not have the ground in the fixture. They'll be grounded before they get there, but in the case like this one is, you can ground it to the ballast, to the light fixture itself, so that if there's a short, you won't have an electrocution or anything like that. So we'll just hook up the neutral here and we should be ready to test it. We'll grab the neutral here. We'll be ready to give myself a little extra. Alright. Grab your wire nut, put it back together. Make sure that a lot of the stranded wire, you want to make sure you still got a good amount of wire so you get a good connection here. Sometimes when you unconnect these, it'll break them off, so you'll just have to cut it back a little bit and strip it. So we'll just grab this fuse. And you put it in. Twist it and turn it. There it goes. So now I'll take my voltage detector, and so we should have power coming out of the fuse now, and we should have power to all of the leads going to your lamps. Everything. Here's the red. Here's the blue. Everything looks good. So I'll put the lamps in before I put it all back together, just in case there's problem. And looks like everything working good, light's working good. So we'll take the lamps out and we'll put the reflector back together and we'll be ready to wrap this up. Okay, so now we're going to put the reflector back on. There we go. Slide it back into place. Secure it with these screws. And there we go. Put the lamps back in. We're ready to go. Clean up we'll clean up our mess if we made one, and we'll be done. So thank you for watching how to put the ballast in this light. I hope you learned something, and feel free to call me if you have any questions.